Go ahead and pick up your Ash vs. Evil Dead figures at Big Bad Toy Store at the link in the description down below. Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Kaiju, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It's Steven here, and I am bringing you a new review today of horror's most infamous grandma, NECA's Henrietta. This one from Ash vs. Evil Dead, though, it's actually the one from the second Evil Dead movie with a new head. But anyway, this one's from Ash vs. Evil Dead, so everything's new. Or is it? Well, folks, the original Henrietta, that hit aftermarket relatively quick, and it ain't worth the 70+ bucks it's going for. Now we have a chance to get Henrietta again with a more so updated head sculpt to be a bit more accurate to Ted. Oops. In his portrayal of Henrietta. So with that being said, is this one worth the purchase? It's an outdated figure, and it's 2018. Let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. I am rather confused as to how exactly I feel about Henrietta. I don't know. No, I'm not going to make that joke. Anyway, what I'm really confused about is that there is plenty of awesomely sculpted detail on this figure. Lots of gore, right? That's what we love. But what's upsetting is that the paint looks, well, not very good. You can especially see this on some of the joints where it looks very thin and it looks flaky. And in hand, it looks very pastelish. It doesn't necessarily look believable so much as it does look over the top, unlike the other Ash vs. Evil Dead figures. That being said, though, NECA did a pretty solid job getting this thing to look, well, gruesome, to put it lightly. Let's go ahead and take a closer look where we can see the awesome recreation of Ted in Henrietta garb. Yep, that's right. So the eyes are nice and whited out. They look decayed. Then you have the mouth, which actually has a bit of depth to it. It's not just plastic that's been molded over or anything. They actually carved out a little bit of space for the open mouth, which looks good. We can see teeth, decayed dead lips. Now for the hair, it looks like they just used like horsehair or the stuff for a paintbrush. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It does add to the believability overall of Henrietta, but I'm a little bit concerned over time whether or not that glue is going to loosen up and Henrietta's going to go bald. So that is something to just keep an eye on. Moving on down to the rest of the figure, if you have seen the original Henrietta figure from NECA from Evil Dead 2, then it's going to look 100% identical sculpt-wise, except they changed the paint a bit. So we have her ripped up dress, I believe that it was. Anyway, it looks nice. It is tattered. There's some black dry brushing to bring out some of the details. It looks good overall. And then when we get down to her torso, well, you see, she's not really wearing a brassiere here underneath that, and unfortunately, I can't show you that in a Christian anime. So you're gonna have to play pretend here and see what a necro titty looks like. But yeah, all that detail is kept perfectly fine on Henrietta. We have the stomach, which is bloated, and it is scratched up and decaying. There are holes in it. We can see that NECA included details for blood. It is very cool. But again, taking a closer look, it almost looks like it has a very thin layer of paint, and it looks pastelish. It looks dirty, and not in the dead, decaying kind. It just kind of looks like if we take a toothbrush to this figure and really scrub, we'll get out some of those nasty paint marks, and it will look like a better figure. But unfortunately, that's not the case here. But yeah, to sort of wrap everything up, NECA's Henrietta sculpt, even though it is older, it still holds up relatively well to this day. The new head is fantastic and greatly appreciated, but I think they could have stepped up the paint game just a little bit since it does not match the prototype shown on the back of the box. All right, so the articulation for Henrietta here, if you have the original figure, you know exactly what you're getting into because nothing's changed. So it's both a good thing and a bad thing because Henrietta can actually, for an older gal, for a bigger gal, she can move. So what do we have here? Well, the head, you'd think that there would be a swivel here, but there's actually not. This is all just one piece. The cut here is just because her head is glued to her neck. Yeah, be careful there when you're head swapping. Anyway, that's on a ball joint, but a really, really good ball joint. So Henrietta can basically look in all sorts of different directions. That is just peachy keen, fine and dandy. Now, for the shoulders, they plug into the body on swivels, so we can spin the arms around, right, That is always cool. And then there are hinges there, so this way we can raise and lower her arms. We have a single elbow joint. It's a hinge, but there is a swivel in there as well, so this way we can turn her arms around, acting as a bicep swivel. For her wrists, what do we have? Well, it looks like we have ball joints with a little bit of swivel movement and a little bit of rocker movement, forward and back, up and down, side to side. It's all good, which we always like for our action figures. Now, we do, we have an ab crunch, kind of. Mostly just twisting and turning. It does feel like a ball joint, so we can go about that far forward, that far back, side to side. It's there. No waist joint. So moving on down to the hips, they are actually a barbell style double access ball joint, one plugging into the body, one plugging into the thigh, and as you can see here, paint chip from Henrietta. We actually have quite a bit down here now that I'm really moving her around, but anyway, I'll show you that in a second. So the legs actually move really, really well, and you can see as you move the legs around, it really messes with the gore and makes it look so much cooler. And a booty blown out. So yeah, lots of neat hip movement there. We have single hinge knees, which also feature swivels, which is very good. And then we have ball jointed ankles, so this way you can move the foot around in any which way you'd basically like. So that's good. Henrietta has nice big feet, so when it comes to balancing, she is perfectly fine. So now let's, oof. All them paint flakes from Henrietta. Very good. Very good, NECA. Anyway, for the articulation, Henrietta, it's good. Like, just a real quick pose. And, yeah, we can get her to balance. No real big deal. Look at that. There we go. Ted's standing up just fine. So, yeah, articulation, kind of limited just because of the design and the fact it's deadite, but still, at the end of the day, plenty of fun poses. Accessories time, and this is where we have a return of the old, and we have new from the ground up. Henrietta comes with a support stand that just plugs into her back to allow her to float, and she has a new deadite head, extended head. I don't know what you would call that because she's already a deadite and a monster head. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so yeah, the stand, it just plugs into her back. Not a big deal. Lets her float. Simple, easy, you can figure it out. I don't got to show you anymore. Now, for that extended monster head, the way that this works is you're going to have to pop off Henrietta's head. I highly recommend using a source of heat, preferably a blow dryer, to soften up the socket at the base of her neck, because if you don't do that, you might accidentally rip the head off, leaving the neck stub in the body, even though that would kind of be cool. Once you do that, you can pop on the extended neck, which has a wire in it, so this way you can move it and bend it and articulate it to your heart's content, and then you just pop on that new head, which, wow, that is gruesome. Very accurate, too. Very nice to see that NECA even included a hinge for the jaw, so this way it can open and close, and we do even have details in the mouth. Once again, they use that fine bristle horsehair-like thing for hair on Henrietta's head here. Little bit concerned because, once again, that might come off over time, but still, this addition is awesome. And what's even better is if you know how to, well, take a action figure picture, you can pop off Henrietta's head and make it look like Ash Williams went and severed it with that chainsaw. So that is pretty dang cool. Overall, Henrietta doesn't come with a whole lot, but to be perfectly honest with you, aside from maybe, I don't know, a puke effect part, Henrietta comes with everything that is essential to the character. Admittedly, it might be nice to get that Evil Dead 2 head sculpt that they have laying around somewhere, but that's not accurate to this Henrietta. Of course, if you want Hellfire and Brimstone, there are effect parts out there on the market to add into the display. Now we're going to go ahead and round out this review with a size comparison with all of Ash vs. Evil Dead Series 2, alongside some other figures you might have, whether or not it's going to be NECA's Ultimate Pennywise or even maybe a Godzilla. Henrietta is a BDW, Big Deadite Woman. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Gotta be honest with you here, I'm not that pleased with the paint, but Henrietta's sculpt is fantastic. We have a lot of details here, which are great. And to be honest with you, the articulation for being such an older figure now, it still surprisingly holds up, especially for the design of the character, if you will. Accessories, they're just fine. To be honest, anything else, that's just wishful thinking. Honestly, this is the version of Henrietta that I would prefer because it actually has updated technology to match how they were able to recreate Henrietta in the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series. And I'm going to be honest with you, I do not feel like paying nearly $100 for that original Henrietta. Yeah, no, not gonna happen. This is a perfectly fine alternative that can blend with the current day Ultimate Ash or even your Evil Dead 2 Ash Williams. Definitely pick her up before this one goes up higher in price, especially because Ted and Drag, I mean, you can't go wrong there. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links, like the credits for this video, and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.